So about 9 months back, I read this book called 12 Months to 1 Million. Basically, this guy had become a multimillionaire by selling physical products online, and he claimed in his book that anyone in just 12 months can make $1 million selling physical products using the simple blueprint that he laid out in his book. His whole thing was you don't just create a company to make money, but you create a company with the idea of selling that company for tens of millions of dollars later down the line. He told story after story of people who had started these companies with $10 or started this company with $500 that went on to sell their company to a major corporation for $10 million, $100 million, $200 million. One guy started a deodorant company with like $500, I think, and he went on to sell his company for $100 million just 5 years later. The book was incredible and insanely well written, and it got me really pumped up to sell some sort of physical product. I was reading it and I was thinking, I'm gonna be so wealthy after I implement this guy's blueprint because I'm about to be a millionaire because I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna crush it. Obviously, I was on a journey to make $1 million of profit in a year from scratch. I still am on that journey, and that book just felt like a slam dunk. It was an answer to all my problems, and I was gonna go out there and make $1 million company using the methods he outlined in the book. So I dove headfirst into the idea phase, trying to come up with ideas of a product I could sell. At that time, I'd built up an audience of over 60,000 followers on TikTok, and I was getting daily messages from different people all over the world who were wanting to do some sort of similar journey to what I was doing. They kept asking me questions about my journey, how they could get started, if I recommended any tools to help them get started. And although I tried to help every person that reached out to me, it got to a point where I was getting 10 or 15 messages a day and I just couldn't keep up. But I knew right away as I got into my idea phase that I wanted to create a product that would help those people that kept messaging me. And so I started to think of what had impacted my journey and what had really helped me go the distance that I'd come so far. And almost immediately, I thought of my planner. Early on in my journey, I was really struggling with time management. I was really struggling with, lack of focus and becoming distracted. So I got a planner to help me focus in and better manage my time. And it was ridiculous the drastic impact that planner had on my journey. Almost overnight, I went from no income, no following, really going nowhere, to suddenly I started landing jobs, I started bringing income, and I started finally making progress. I started taking off on TikTok, I started taking off on YouTube, I started multiple businesses, and what had previously taken me weeks to accomplish, I was now doing in a single day. On top of that, over time, as I'd been using my planner, I had already modified it and changed it to make it more effective and more efficient, to keep me more focused and on track, and to better leverage every second of the day possible. So I thought, perfect, I already have a unique product created, it's gonna help people. I'm gonna start by creating my own planner. When I started the design process for my planner, I had literally no idea what to do. I'd never done anything like this. There isn't like a site you can go to and that just designs physical products for you. I was looking everywhere, Googling everywhere, trying to figure out what in the world do I do to create a physical product design. I looked on sites like Fiverr, 99 Designs, Upwork, I searched on YouTube, I searched on all kinds of graphic design sites, and I literally came up with nothing. I was so frustrated because I had just gotten started with this and already I'd hit a brick wall that seemed impassable. And at that time, I was already considering giving up because if it was this hard just to get the product designed, then imagine how hard it would be to get this entire manufacturing process done. But then I thought to myself, if it's this hard to get this done, then most people probably don't make it. Most people probably give up. And that probably means there is a crazy amount of untapped opportunity in this space. If you want to get the results that no one else gets, you need to be willing to do what 99% of people are unwilling to do. So I decided, if I can't find someone to design this for me, then I'm just gonna design it myself. I went to Canva and I started designing my planner from scratch, line by line, word by word, beginning to end. And let me tell you, it was an incredibly tedious and long, ridiculous process where I would spend days, all day long, moving lines, measuring the space between lines, changing the size of text, coming up with concepts for pages. It took me forever, but at the end it was totally worth it because at the end of the week I had my design ready to get started on creating my first ever physical product. To order my sample, I went on Alibaba and I messaged like 30 different manufacturers asking what it would cost to get something like this manufactured. I ended up going with the second person that responded back just because they were really easy to communicate with. They were really clear and concise. And in the book, he had said that if you find somebody that's really clear and concise and easy to communicate with, then you just want to go with them because that is invaluable during the process. I had to upload my files as a PDF. I sent them over. Despite the language barrier, they were really good at communicating with me. They would go through and make sure that everything lined up well, make sure that we were selecting the exact color I wanted. They would send me videos, they'd send me pictures, they would send me these long messages.
Hi, my friend, we can keep this will still be blank and add the blank pages to here.
And it felt like getting my sample created was just a super easy process. It did end up costing me over $100 to get it created and shipped, but within 2 weeks, I was holding in my hand a physical sample of the planner I had created. And this is actually the sample that I got. It's really well done. They did a really good job on the sample. All of my designs turned out amazing, and it was pretty cool holding a physical product in my hand that I had literally imagined up. After getting my sample, I made a few revisions to the design files, added in some extra pages, sent the designs back to them, and after that, I placed my first order for my first batch. It cost me around $3,000 to place it. Then I went out and hired a designer on 99 Designs to design my box artwork. I had a really particular vision for the shipping box that it would be shipped out in. And during this whole season, there were a few really simple things that took me forever to figure out. And the first one was where to get my box actually made. There is a ridiculous amount of companies out there that will make custom shipping boxes for you. Most of the ones I was initially looking at were all based in the US, but eventually I actually figured out that the company manufacturing my planner could also manufacture the boxes and ship them to me already in their boxes, which made things 1,000 times less stressful. The second thing that took me forever to figure out is how to get my planner wrapped in plastic. You know how like new items come in like that plastic wrap to show that they're brand new and they haven't been used yet? Well, I was looking at buying machines on Amazon to like self-plastic wrap them myself. But again, that was another thing that I figured out that the manufacturer could do for me for a little bit extra. I think it was like 10 cents or 5 cents extra per planner just to have them plastic wrap each individual planner. Those might seem like ridiculously small things, but trust me, when you're getting something made, you have to think about all these weird things you never traditionally would think about. Anyways, after getting all that sorted out, my total order price was around, I think, $4,000 at this point. And this is when things started to get a little bit weird with the manufacturer. Almost overnight, I had the manufacturer go from like the best customer service, super responsive, to totally ghosting me. I sent them money and then suddenly they stopped responding to anything I was sending them. I was asking them for requests to see the planner before they started mass production just because I wanted to make sure they got my revisions and they actually made the changes. They kept promising that they would send me a picture of the planner that day, maybe a little bit later in the day, but they never ended up following through. And I'd send them a message the next day and they would say something that was really confusing and made no sense to me and say that they would get it, that day again. This went on for a few weeks of me literally messaging them every day asking for a sample, just a photo or a video of the planner just to make sure it was right, and then promising to send me a picture, but then never actually sending it. Obviously, a lot of red flags were going up for me because I was like, what's going on? And then one day, out of nowhere, I got a message from the person I'd been working with, and they sent me a video message, and they were crying in the video message saying that because I hadn't informed them of a change I had made, which I had very well communicated every change I had made. But they're saying because I hadn't informed them of it, there was actually an extra cost to the planner that was gonna have to come out of their paycheck and they weren't gonna be able to afford to eat or to pay rent because of it. And obviously I was wondering, is this legit? Are they trying to scam me out of more money? At the end of the day, I couldn't figure out if it was legit or it wasn't. But I figured, if it is legit, then I don't want this person to not be able to eat. So I did end up wiring them extra money to cover that extra cost. And then there was shipping. Okay, one thing I did not realize going into getting a product manufactured is how complicated shipping can be. I just figured it was like ordering anything else. You order it and then it's shipped straight to your door, but it is like 1,000 times more complicated than that. For one, the manufacturer will not ship anything. You have to hire a company to drive out to the manufacturer to pick up your shipment. That company can take it from there to the port. There's a separate process from taking it from the port overseas to another country, the US, And then there's an entire separate process picking it up from the port in the US and taking it to your actual address. And there's some services where they'll take it just from the manufacturer to the port. There's some where they'll take it from the manufacturer all the way to the US. And of course, there's separate ones that'll take it all the way from the manufacturer straight to your door. And I could not for the life of me wrap my head around why somebody would want to ship it just from the manufacturer to the port or just from the manufacturer to the US. And I figured there must be some sort of advantage or reasoning for that, but I couldn't figure it out. And then there's all these things with customs where you got to get customs agents on their side and you got to deal with custom agents on your side. And honestly, it was way over my head having never dealt with anything like this. This is when the manufacturer also told me they know somebody who could handle the shipping part. I just have to send the manufacturer even more money and then they will figure out and get that sorted on my behalf. It won't be shipped through them, but they'll, arrange all the shipment. Me not knowing what to do with everything and really being confused, just decided, you know what, I'm in this deep. I might as well go a little deeper. I wired them more money so that they could arrange for shipping, figure that all out for me and have it shipped straight to my door. And let me just say, having it shipped to me was not cheap. When I'm saying I wired them extra money to have it shipped, it was like $1,500 I had to wire them to have the products shipped from their factory to my house. So it wasn't cheap. And then on top of all this, I learned that it's gonna take about 8 to 12 weeks to have the product shipped to me, which I also did not know that. I did not know a lot of things because I just jumped into this and tried it out, which I do with a lot of things. And obviously there were a lot of hard lessons learned along the process. But one of those is that to get that cheap price of only $1,500, I had to have it shipped by boat. If I wanted it shipped by plane, it was like 10 times as expensive. So I do all this. I'm just literally going out on a leap of faith that this is gonna all work out. And then a couple weeks go by and I get no update on shipping, no communication from the manufacturer. And I am like, what is going on? So I send them a message and I say, hey, what's going on? Why isn't everything shipped? You guys guarantee that it's shipped by a certain date and it hasn't been shipped yet. And they said, well, it's been raining a lot here and we're waiting for everything to dry. We can't actually, ship the planners until they dry. And I say, okay, so how long is that gonna take? And they're like, it's gonna take about an extra week. A week later, nothing shipped. And I asked them what's going on. And they say, oh, we're printing the boxes. It's been raining a lot. And it's gonna take an extra 1 to 2 weeks for the boxes to dry. And at this point, I am just almost positive that I'm either being scammed or they just horribly messed up on these planners and they're trying to cover it up, or just something is going wrong. Something horrible is happening because this is just all getting to absurd levels of difficulty. I stopped asking for things, a few weeks went by, and eventually I did finally get a shipping notifications that the planner had shipped and was on its way. I had to wait around 9 weeks for those planners to finally arrive in my house. And needless to say, this entire process took forever, was insanely hard, but eventually I did get the planners and they turned out amazing. 500 planners doesn't seem like a lot, but they came in a crazy amount of different big brown boxes. They fill up like half of my garage. When I opened them up, the boxes looked great. They were really high quality printing. Everything looked awesome. The inside looked amazing. And when I was talking about the planner being wrapped in plastic, this is what it looks like and what it ended up as. The next thing I noticed was all the pages that I had added in, and I had actually upgraded the weight of the page so they were a little bit thicker, had made the planner absolutely huge. Like, I don't know if you can see or even tell how big this is. Here's the sample I got, and then that's the actual one that showed up. Very similar, but this one's a lot thinner and this one's a lot thicker. There's a lot more pages. I probably shouldn't have upgraded to the thickest page possible, and I probably shouldn't have added so many extra pages, but honestly, I only got a lot of good feedback on the planner, so maybe it ended up being a good choice. So let's talk about the actual launch. I had done a pre-order on TikTok. At the time, I had around 60,000 followers on TikTok. I'd never sold anything as a creator, so I had no idea how that would translate into sales or what that would translate into. For my pre-orders though, I ended up selling around 150 planners. Once they actually arrived and I had them in stock, I ended up selling about 100 more planners at that point. So total from launch and pre-orders, I ended up selling about half of my planners right from the get-go. And that ended up translating to around $9,500, which means I paid off the amount of money I spent to get the planners manufactured, and anything above that was just gain, and I made about $4,000 in profit, which is pretty awesome. Obviously, it's not gonna make me a millionaire in 12 months, but it is pretty amazing to have gotten through this process, had a successful launch, and made a profit off of a physical product that I created. And especially since I created that product to help people, it's just cool knowing that this product is out there in people's homes, helping them start their journey and get out there and crush their goals, which was the entire vision for what I was doing anyway. And I only directly pitched the product maybe twice on TikTok. Part of my thing is I didn't want the people who follow me to think that my entire goal is just to sell them things. I genuinely love helping people. It's part of just what makes me the person I am. And I've always been really careful with how I pitch things or approach things because I want people to know and understand that that's genuine. And I don't want people to think that I'm only in it for making some sort of profit. If this video is helpful, if you hit that like button, it just helps my channel grow. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I really try to go through and answer every single one. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.